my friends at DAT, they partnered with me, and we do 3 times a week lane analysis. All right. So this is all viewer submitted. My team gets emails constantly about this. So we do dry van, flatbed, and reefer. And today is going to be a dry van lane out there, you guys. And again, if you want your lane submitted on this, email my team podcast at TheFreightCoach.com. I just need shipping city, delivery city, and trailer type. And again, you can be very vague in your stuff. I don't need exacts or anything like that. The whole point of this, you guys, is to help you identify patterns and get ahead of some of these spikes that are going on out here. And the West Coast has been the main topic of conversation out there because fuel prices are absolutely through the roof out here and rising. So this lane is Sacramento, California to Phoenix, Arizona for a dry van. Right now it looks overall like it's a very stable lane. If you're, but you know, again, I think that as fuel prices continue to stay elevated, and we were breaking this down, earlier this week when Sonny Charmer was on for the reefer lane on Wednesday, and the recording's out there on my YouTube channel if you guys want to go check that one out. He moves that lane often, and he was saying that one is already starting to see tighter capacity and higher rates. And I look at this one in particular, and it's holding steady overall, right? Like if you look at the 1-year average on this one, it's at about $1,700. Right now, it's currently moving at about $1,650 from what I'm seeing out here. But again, if I'm going out there, no matter what, miles is the first thing that I always pay attention to. And I pay attention to that because obviously days of the week that these shipments move vastly affect how much you're going to pay on this stuff. And you want to get ahead of this. If it's a Thursday to Monday, or a Friday to Monday, it's going to be exponentially more expensive than a next day delivery because it's in that gray area, right? Like general rule of thumb, most guys can get like 550 miles in a day in their clock, but it kind of falls into that gray area time because I've had drivers who can do 700 miles overnight, depending on what they got going on. But, again, if I'm looking at this lane, it looks like there's a kind of a peak out here, but it looks about as stable of a lane that we've broken down on this show in quite some time. Like, we've done a lot of work out of Florida with produce season, and that obviously has the produce swing that comes along with this one. And I look at it as this is going to be one of those ones where I would pay attention to the two things right now is going to be fuel prices and with the CDLs. All right. Because obviously the state of California, as of lately, has not really been complying with the DOT's request on a lot of things. And, again, once they start doing that, and these inspections start to becoming more and more frequent, which it kind of sounds like they already are to a certain level, I would just pay attention to that because rates are going to start to increase going into California and out of California. And that's just going to be a dip in capacity that's going on out there. And then on top of it, you add in fuel prices. I think that these are the West Coast, in my opinion, specifically the state of California. All of those outbound lanes are lanes to watch here for tightened capacity and higher fuel prices for as long as this stuff continues to go on in the market. And I want you guys to pay attention to this, right? It does not matter the mode right now, van, reefer, flatbed. It does not matter. Anything moving in and out of the state of California is pretty much going to be set for a rate increase here from my operator's opinion only. Okay. And it has everything to do with a lot of the fuel prices, like I had mentioned, but also with capacity being affected due to the CDLs and stuff that they have going on in that state. But if you're looking at it from a stability perspective, you guys, this lane has performed as about as stable as you possibly can out there. Yes, there's always going to be those natural peaks. Think holidays, Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, stuff like that. But it looks like this one is one of those ones where, it's a power lane. All right. Sacramento to Phoenix, that's a power lane of power lanes. There's always going to be capacity for it, but I would always err on the side of caution on what day of the week that it's going. But I would feel very confident in putting a buffer rate in there. Again, I'm not going to tell you guys what to quote because I don't want to cost any potential money out there. But if I'm looking at this, I would put a buffer margin in this one just to kind of offset any increases in fuel that we might see come down the pipeline. And again, I want to kind of keep my customers' rates as similar as possible right now, especially with the spot market ones. All right. Some people love to gouge during times of turbulence. I just don't like to play that game because I want to be an actual partner for my customers. Again, to each their own. But with this one in particular, I would feel fairly confident in adding a little bit of a buffer on there for fuel. Have that fuel conversation with your customer right now. Again, I don't assume people are or your competitors or anybody else is passing them along this information. That's why I always like to get ahead of it. So if you're in that situation right now where you're starting to see your rates creep up on outbound Cali, specifically Sacramento going into Phoenix, I would talk to them about that because fuel in Arizona is like over $5 a gallon as well. So it's higher in California, but it's also high in Arizona. So again, that's going to naturally see some price increases. So put that fuel buffer in there. But again, with Sacramento to Phoenix, I think from a capacity standpoint, it's going to be one of the last lanes that you're going to see any tightness on in the event any of that happens. But again, I would feel very confident in going out there in locking in some long-term pricing. Again, fuel buffer at that. But again, this is a power lane of power lanes. And, it's one of those ones where I think it's the last one to change out there that you get. But that is how I assess it, you guys. Again, I try and find everything. I look at the pattern recognition. I look to see when are those peak seasons, when are those potential times that my margins might be a little bit compressed due to servicing the account, because I know that eventually capacity will loosen back up and freight will start flowing again in most of these markets. But I would feel very confident in just adding in a fuel buffer on this one and running with it.